Hello everyone, join me at Team Sport Warrington for Bikc National Finals. I think everyone pretty much knows what happened at Nationals, but I've just thought I'd do a voiceover for the event, and I'll just talk over what qualifying, the heats and the semi, and then I'll probably just discuss everything about the grand final, and then probably what should have been different, what could have been different, and just what was wrong with the event in the end. I don't want to say everything was wrong. There was one glaring issue, and that was just with the grid lineup, but I'll get onto that in a bit. Format for today is 15-minute quali, 2 8-minute heats, then a 12-minute semi, I think it was 12. Might not even have been 8-minute heats, could have been 10, but 12-minute semi, and then new for this year was a 20-minute grand final with the introduction of a joker lap. Joker lap was essentially just go through the pit lane at walking pace, speed 1. It loses you I think it averaged about 14 seconds loss in the pit lane, but yeah, we'll get onto that. So in front is the qualifying session. Ben, Lewis, Tomo in this session now, but session has just started, so the first 2 laps are pretty awful, but there is an overlay for it. It's going to come out on my first full flying lap, I think, or it might come out at the end of this, I'm not quite sure, but shout out to Josh Mills for making it for me. I do appreciate it, but qualifying was qualifying's important for Bikc. I knew Mera won, and you want pole position, but after we saw the group splits coming into this, I knew this group was going to be a pretty tough group, but I knew I could top it in theory. It was just hopefully avoiding some diabolical kart, which there was a few in our group. I think in this group we have Johnny Elliott, who was the 2022 heavyweight Bikc champion. Johnny had been pretty quick on the build-up. Got Martin Cooper, Lewis Thompson, Hassan, Tom Wiltshire. Pretty much everyone in the group is going to be quick. You don't get to nationals without being a quick indoor karter, so. But yeah, I just knew I do have the experience around this track. Seeing it is my local, but yeah. So yeah, we beginning of the session I do just let everyone through because I was behind Lewis, but I know Lewis isn't just gonna let me walk by, so let him go through. But I knew the first probably 5, 6, 7 laps were gonna be the time to set your qualifying times. So that's why I wanted to get a bit of space early on. This lap would have been a decent lap, to be fair. I got David Harvey in front of me and he just loses the back end. I think he locks the brakes and I just lose an absolute shitload of time. Pretty sure the lap time is a 52.2, which, considering I got really slowed down there, I do think it probably could have been a 51. I don't know if it would have been my quickest time of quali, but yeah. Is what it is. I did find out after the session that kart 43 that he was in was probably the worst, probably not the worst. I think kart 40 was that one we'll come on to in a bit. 43 just wasn't a very good kart. David Harvey won it last year, so he's clearly no slouch, but he just pulled back out. I was getting pretty frustrated at this point because obviously I hadn't set a representative time. This lap was probably the first clean lap that I got, but it wasn't, from what I remember, it wasn't particularly good. It might have been a 52 flat. If it was this lap, it would have been good enough for pole either way, but yeah, it's not. I know I could go quicker. I know some people are going to probably wonder what happened to Johnny Elliott in this qualifying session as well. So Johnny Elliott got his fastest lap time deleted because he was impeding. Turns out it was because he was impeding me. Yeah, you'll see it later on. So during the laps, there's a screen on the right hand side of the second Dunlop, and for like the first 10 minutes of quality, I'm just sat wondering what this screen's showing. So I keep looking at the screen as I'm going through the second Dunlop, and on this, it's not this lap, I will point it out, but Johnny sat on the racing line. I get why the stewards decided to delete his best lap time, but yeah, it just seemed a bit silly. I didn't know this at the time, but so Johnny had left the venue after qualifying because he obviously wasn't happy about it. And I only found out going into the first heat that it had actually gone home. I would have been more than happy to contest it with him, because at the end of the day, it didn't spoil my qualifying session. Like, yeah, it did ruin a lap or a potential lap, but over the course of the qualifying session, it didn't really mean anything. It caught me off guard, obviously. I'm looking at the screen as I look back at the track, he's on my racing line. But yeah, it's just one of them things. So going towards the end of this lap now, I've got Tom Wiltshire in front of us. I did get a bit thrown off because he didn't put me through, but obviously he was slowing down, and I doubt he was going to cut across me, but yeah. So we come across the line here with a 51.980, which was actually the pole time. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent time. I was in kart 17. 17's not... It wasn't a kart to write home about. It felt decent. It obviously wasn't a dire kart, which I do get 2 slower karts in the heats, but yeah, it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. It could be this lap that we're coming into now where you see Johnny do the impeding on me. Yeah, could be. But yeah, I knew I was going pretty quick at this point. I was catching up to people ahead who I knew had pace. But I did speak to Johnny about this. Johnny said that he did point me through, but I think, so you see there, Johnny's on the race line and I kind of dive out. It's because I'm looking at the screen. If I wasn't looking at the screen, I probably would have seen it and I wouldn't have, obviously, rather about the steering wheel as much. But yeah, I mean, he is on the racing line. It's just one of them things. It's frustrating for him. But I think in hindsight, if he'd have stayed, it'd have probably been better off staying where he was. So I think it dropped him back down to 5th place. And as we'd seen all day, starting 5th was a bigger advantage than starting 2nd sometimes. So yeah, one of them things. It kind of made it. It kind of made it easy for me. I knew Johnny was going to be a problem for me, and I did have Johnny down as maybe battling for the win with me, along with a few others. But yeah, it's just one of them. Nothing else really happens in qualifying, to be honest. I just let it play through. It's just a hot lapping session. There's no racing and whatnot. So yeah, I'll come up for heat 1 and just see some hot laps of Team Sport Wellington. Don't fucking bait me. Oh! Get in! Fucking get in! So yeah, join me back for heat 1. You can see I was pretty happy at the end of quali, sticking it on pole. But yeah, we're in heat 1 now, so after Johnny left, it promoted a few people further up, so I started pole. We had, I'm not entirely sure who was second. Martin Cooper in second it was, then Hassan in third. Other than that, I can't remember who was where, but yeah, so Martin does get jumped at the start by Hassan because his third place was just a better position to start in because of the run to the first corner. I held on first, and yeah, just go from there. So when I make a bit of mistake. I did keep making that mistake all day. You do it in this heat, and then I do it in the semi-final quite a bit. But yeah, so in kart 8. Kart 8 was, I don't even remember what this kart was like. Wasn't the best. It wasn't awful. It wasn't as good as 17 that I had in quali, but yeah, I essentially have Hassan up my arse the full race. There is I think about 4 tenths behind me over the line, and then one lap he pulls. I don't actually know what happens. I think he maybe makes a mistake and he drops to 8 tenths, but then after that he's just closing the gap on me lap after lap. But he just closed the gap. He does get about 4 tenths behind in the end, but he's not really that close to put me off as such. It was fairly comfortable, I'm not gonna lie. It was yeah, it was just a pretty simple race. Helps that the races weren't longer. I think if the heats were longer, I might have been under a bit more pressure, but yeah, it's just one of them. I can't remember what the fastest lap time was of this race. It wasn't in the 51s, it was like a 52-1 or something, 52-2 maybe, I can't remember. Yeah, I just let this heat play through. There's nothing to really talk about when you're leading the race, but yeah, I'll come back for heat 2. Okay. So now we're in heat 2. Starting positions again it was the finishing positions of your first heat made this grid. So this time I'm on pole again. We had Hassan in second. I think Aaron Mitchell Begley in third, Martin Cooper fourth. None of that, can't remember. But yeah, goes yellow instantly. You'll notice that there's less laps in this heat than there was the heat before, and that was because this session actually got red flagged on the first lap. I've left it out, but unfortunately for me, I say unfortunately for me, fortunately for other people, I know Hassan started second and he dropped back to sixth, I'm pretty sure, on the start of the original start, I should say. So yeah, he got away with that, but this time I think he slots back into third behind Aaron, as again, third place advantage over second. And luckily for me, Aaron just holds everyone up. This race was the most comfortable race I had all night. I think at the end I had a 4.2 second gap. And it wasn't even because I was particularly quick. Kart 9 was the worst kart I'd had all night. Kart 9 on the build-up, or historically, has been a pretty bad kart around Warrington. It's not the worst kart, but it's just off the pace slightly. I think my fastest time was like a 52.3. 52.3 is just not, like, compared to what I had been doing and what I'd done in the build-up. Like, the night before I did a 51.7. That's like 6/10 off what I had done in a different kart. But yeah, this car just wasn't very good. I think the gap at the end makes it seem like I was flying, but if people knew the lap times when I was on track or on the live stream, it was just like this car was dire. It just so happens that Aaron had kart 43, which, like I said in quali, was one of the worst karts in the fleet that night. I'm not going to complain about it. I avoided it. But if I'd have pulled it, I mean, it's not impossible to defend around the track. And considering my experience, I think if I had pulled 43, I probably would have been able to hold onto positions. And Aaron showed that he could himself, finishing second. But yeah, that car was dire. But yeah, other than that, nothing. Again, just like Heat 1, nothing really happens. It's just me hot lapping basically. I saw the gap getting bigger and bigger, and yeah, 4.2 at the end of 9 laps. Yeah, I'm going to take that all day. But there's nothing to speak about, so I'll just come back for the semi-final. Yeah. So now we're back for the semi-final. This was probably the most stressful race that I had all night. Me starting pole, Aaron Joe Begley second, and then Ben Paynes in third. But yeah, again, go through for lead the start of the race, keep home, as it's not very difficult to. But Ben Paynes actually gets past Aaron at the first corner, and then proceeds to keep me under pressure all night. For the rest of the race, I should say. It was a good race. As much as it was stressful, it was enjoyable. But I'm in kart 14. Ben's in kart. I don't even know what kart he's in, to be honest. 17 or 2. Which, if it was 17, it was when I had in quali, so I knew it was quick. I'm pretty sure it was 17. Ben does a 52 flat in this race. I think my fastest was a 52.1, and I know Ben's no slouch, but it's my local track. I know I can go quicker than that time. I can go 3 times quicker than it, but no, it was enjoyable. There is a point, I think it goes yellow so we're starting the next lap now, lap 2, and it does go yellow. I'm not entirely sure what happened. There's an incident further back, but so we come up this ramp now and it goes yellow, and then Ben sat as we're coming around this corner. Obviously there's some blind spots to the lights, and the guy in front kind of blocks this light here, so Ben gets stuck behind me as it goes green. I'm at the top of the ramp and pull a bit of a gap. I think it allowed me to pull an 8 tenths gap, which luckily for me gave me enough breathing space to set some fast laps. They weren't the fastest, but obviously in this race you're worrying about not just your finishing position but your fastest lap. So we were the first group out in the heavyweights, so it was sort of the winner of the other heat had to chase my time. At the end I set like a 52.139, I think it was. When I came over the end I knew full well that it was 100% beatable. Hassan, who won the other semi, he's no slouch. He can do 51 when it's necessary. So I admit I was going to start second in the grand final, but yeah, isn't what ended up happening. But yeah, at this point, just setting lap times. I think this might be my fastest lap of the race, but Ben's still catching me. I think he's catching me by like half a tenth per lap, but I make a pretty significant mistake somewhere, or it probably doesn't show that much on the footage, but I do make a mistake and he closes from like 6 tenths to 3 tenths in one lap. And Ben, to be fair, had been flying. Don't know, it wasn't this lap, it might be this lap, but you can tell I'm just not going very quickly. I do manage to hold on in the end, as much as Ben was putting me under pressure, but I've got the experience around this track. I know where you need to stick it defensive. There's like this top section here, you do not need to go defensive at all. There's only really maybe the first hairpin, but even at this point you're risking the guy behind's got to be pretty much pulling up beside it to make a move into this first hairpin here. Second hairpin, you can if someone takes a wider entry, so like that line I took there, you'd be risking it. And the third hairpin, you can kind of make an overtake. You're not really getting beside anyone through this section, it's kind of like one line. Can dive up someone's inside here. Can dive up someone there, but that's the same as turn 1. You can get a switch back here, and then if you get a really good run before this ramp, you can dive at the top of the ramp. But yeah, I know where I need to stick the kart. I've got quite a lot of experience around this track, so kind of played into my advantage, being the guy ahead and having the slower kart. So I'll let play through. Not much else to talk about. It was just an enjoyable race, to be honest, with Ben. So I'll come back for the grand final, and then I'll discuss the controversy. so fucking bouncy. Full play, man. Fucking full me.
Right guys, so same as the other ones, one lap rolling start, well not rolling start, formation lap, send you off two at a time, we'll look into back up and I'll do the full checks from there. All good? Best of luck to all drivers.
So yeah, grand final time. I think everyone knows what happens in this. There's no overlay for this race because somewhat weird happened with the timings, and it skipped from like lap 1 all the way to lap 19, which was the first time back over the line after the like 20-minute red flag period. But yeah, I'll just talk about the whole grand final. I think the grand final was when most of the issues started coming out with multiple things. So I'll just start off with the karts. So during Heat 2, and Andre Perry-Huda, his kart died during his heat, and he got swapped into kart 40. Kart 40 was one of the Spurs, and there was 4 karts in the Spurs. There was 2 decently quick ones. I think there was kart 19 and 21, which I do know aren't bad karts, and then there was kart 40 and then like 34 or something, which them 2 were not very good karts. Might have been 34, it might have been 44, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, there was 2 dogs in there, and then there were 2 like decent karts in there. So they decided to pull in one of the bad ones. Unfortunately for Mr. Ben Paynes, he ended up pulling kart 40 for this grand final, which was just essentially ruined all the hard work he'd had up until this point. Ben had done really, really well to get up to starting 3rd in the first place. I think he qualified 5th in his heats, or for his first heat, and then made his way up, and then managed to start 2nd in the 3rd in the grand final, which was essentially 2nd, considering you can just go straight past grid slot 2. But yeah, so he ends up actually getting past Hassan at the start, but then leaves the door wide open going into the first corner, into the 3rd hairpin, I should say, and Hassan makes a good move back into it. But yeah, the kart was that bad at that point. It just made defending pointless for him. He with a joker lap, it made defending sort of utterly pointless. Because the guys behind could just be like, well, this guy's holding me up. I mean, I could just dip into the pits now, get some clear track, and then when he comes in for his joker, I'll be ahead of him, and then or stay out longer than him if he comes in early. Blah blah blah. Just if the carts were actually well balanced, then yeah, they said the carts coming into nationals were within 3 temps, which I know is a complete and utter lie. There's literal screenshots going about of cart diff, and it was more like 6 temps, and still some of the carts in the fleet were past 6 temps within each of the fastest carts. So it's sort of like, get someone who can actually drive the carts and explain the issues with the carts properly, because even the times from the fleet test, the fastest cart was a 52.6 or something. Like, anyone who drives around Warrington or had driven around Warrington at that point, like Jake Anders, who's an absolute anomaly around the track, did a 50.8. So you're telling me that the guy who fleet tested the carts is almost 2 seconds slower than the lap record? Why are they not pulling in a local to drive the carts and then explain the issues with them? Like, there's more than enough people who would be more than happy to take the time out to just drive the carts for free and try and help get them within a certain sort of parity of each other. But it is what it is. Ben got the short end, or pulled the short straw and got absolutely shafted. All his hard work ruined in the grand final, the most important race. Would have been good to see Ben up on the podium. Over the night, he definitely deserved it. I think the podium in the end probably should have been me, Hassan, Ben, but yeah, that's not how it turned out. So yeah, we'll come on to one of the other issues. So the other issue, which was kind of overshadowed by my situation, was the whole aggregate timing situation. So they said at the end, if there was a red flag, they would aggregate the time instead. So it basically wouldn't matter where you finished on track. It would be more like, I don't know how to explain it. So it was kind of like your gap from the last fully completed lap from the red and then the gap at the end of the race finish. Put them against each other, and then that would sort of like put your true position back in. So even if you finish third on track like I did at the end, it would slot me back into second or whatever. Lewis Thompson actually got like ruined by this. So everyone knows Lewis Thompson was in the pit lane when the red flag came up, but over the line he was about 14.9 seconds ahead of Harvey at the red flag on the last fully completed lap, I should say. And then after the red flag period and then the last lap of the race, he was about 12 seconds behind, which in theory would have put him 2 seconds ahead of Harvey at the end. So the podium, even after the whole situation with me and the grid restart and whatever, he would have been 2 seconds ahead of Harvey, and that would have officially put him in third place. I don't know how they didn't do it properly, but we've not had anything to say why they didn't do it properly. It's just a really amateurish mistake to make, as far as I'm concerned. You've done him out of a prize at the end of the day, but they don't care. So is what it is. So Ben Paynes gets shafted by an awful car that shouldn't have even been in the race, and then Lewis Thompson gets shafted by stewards not doing what they're supposed to do properly. And then finally we come on to the whole red flag situation involving me. So yeah, at this point I've got over it. It's, I was pretty angry at the end of it. I think the issue was sort of the whole, they didn't have a clue what they were going to do. So red flag comes out and then they line us up single file. Initially they were going to put us back into grid with me on pole, Hassan second, Lewis third, and then they told us to line up single file. Silky and don't know her name for sure, I'm pretty sure it's Emily, the Scottish girl, said that they were saying it was the last lap of the race, so they didn't know what to do. And then at the end of the event they say, it wasn't the last lap. Like, so are you saying it's not the last lap to try and cover yourself, or what? Like, the steward, Silky and Emily wouldn't have told us it was the last lap if they weren't sure it was the last lap. They would have just said, we don't know. But, so they were deliberating for a while how long. I know some of the time was taken up by fixing the barrier, but they'd fixed the barrier before and they could have restarted the race earlier, but they were still deliberating on what they were going to do for the grid restart, because there was no rule surrounding a restart on the last lap where someone hadn't completed a joker lap. In previous races, they had ended the race early, but the issue of, obviously in this race, someone hadn't completed the joker lap. If everyone had completed the joker lap, I do think that they would have just ended the race there and put us over the line walking pace with a whole pyrotechnic bollocks, but, So they had to find a fair way of restarting the race. Fairest way, which I think me and definitely Hassan, because we were discussing this on track, and you can see it on the other video of the red flag period, and we're saying it should be a single file restart. Whether that meant putting Lewis in first or doing an average of the joker laps and slotting him back into where he would have been timing wise is up to them. But I do think the fairest one would have been Lewis for single file rolling restart, Lewis first, me second, Hassan third. I do think that would have been the fairest outcome at the end of the day. I mean, he still has to do his joker lap and then they just aggregate his time properly, which, like I said, they didn't even do that properly anyway. And it just would have got rid of the advantage of starting on the inside, because in theory I'm net first. Why should I be, why pick an unfair way of doing it if there's no rule surrounding it? But no, they went for a grid start, even though they could see that it wasn't fair. When they've said that they've tried following the regulations as fairly as possible, but there's no regulations surrounding it, so you just do the fairest possible way. They said that they didn't want to. They said there was two ways of doing it. They said if they didn't do the grid restart, then people were going to get. There was going to be more of a fuss about that rather than doing the single file roll and start and not. And I couldn't really understand, but because that's not from the stewards, that's from marshals at the track who had spoke to James Hislop at the end of the event. I just honestly I don't really know what was going through his head, but it is what it is. I'm not annoyed with any of the drivers. You can't be annoyed with the drivers. Like Hassan on the grid restart did what Hassan needed to do. I'm not annoyed with Hassan at the end of the day. He just did what he needed to do. He made his way past me and won the race fair and square from the decision they made. So I'm not bothered about that, about Hassan winning. It's just annoying going from a position where I should have won into a position where I've basically had the race decided by stewards. I did ask for feedback on this whole situation, but I've not had anything back. I emailed Team Sport, not had anything back from them. Did email MSUK. They actually emailed me back and they said that they were going to review it. And they were going to tell James Hislop to get into direct contact with me. I've not had anything back. That was over a week ago now that I'd heard that from MSUK, and I don't want people to think that I'm doing this because I'm annoyed or I want something in return. I think the main thing is that I don't want a repeat of this situation next year. It would be so annoying to see that this has happened to me and then we go into next year and then something similar happens and someone else has the race or the finishing position taken away from them through daft decision making and essentially not preparing. I just don't understand how they couldn't prepare for that situation, considering it was very much a possibility. But, it's team sport. It's what do you expect at the end of the day? Well, at the end of the race, I was quite annoyed with what had happened. I think anyone would have been in that situation. But yeah, the stewards was stood there at the end of the race, and they could clearly see that I was annoyed. I was on the verge of just going home straight away and not even doing the podium bit. I did speak to Akil, I think that's his name, the social media guy who does all the social media stuff. He spoke to me, and in fairness to him, he was like, if you don't want to do the podium and you don't want to do the interview at the end, which the interviews they did after the live stream ended, probably so they could pick and choose what they post to social media. Well, we'll see. He said he wouldn't, like, he's not going to expect me to do an interview or even go up on the podium given what had happened. So, yeah, but as you could see on the video that was uploaded by Bikc, shout out to him for recording it, I did go up on the podium. I just didn't want to take it away from Hassan. It was like, I didn't want to make it about me. Obviously, like, I felt I couldn't even force myself to pretend that I was happy with finishing second on the way that stuff happened. So, yeah, it was tough, but, it is what it is. I enjoyed it, given what had happened. It's just annoying the way that it did happen. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to take part next year. We'll see. I feel like I don't need to prove. There is nothing to prove. I feel like I proved myself this year. But yeah, we'll see what happens when we get closer to time. There's still a long time off Bikc again. I'm going to do more outdoor kart next year. I think I'm looking at maybe taking part in elite karting series. I've still got 2 rounds of Club 100. I'm doing PFI and Wilton Mill. Do not expect to do well in the slightest because my outdoor experience is very, very limited to British 24, which is the one and only time I've been outdoor karting. So I'm a bit of an indoor karting merchant. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Other than that, uploads, I don't even know. I've got members events saved from before nationals and whatnot, but I don't even know if I can bother uploading them. In all honesty, my effort with especially indoor karting team sport is like basically nil. I can't even bother going. I did go on the Thursday after nationals. I didn't even really want to be there. It's just one of them. But yeah, if I upload anything, I do. If I don't, it'll probably be some outdoor karting. But yeah, it would probably also good if I could get involved with some like endurance racing and maybe join a team or whatever. But we'll see. I'm not gonna start trying to force my way into teams and whatnot. But yeah, we'll see. So I'll let the rest of the video play out. There's only like 6 minutes left, but it ends at the red flag period. So if you want to watch the end of it, watch it. I'm not bothered. So yeah, I shall see you around. Goodbye. highly resistant, you had a guy